Genene Jones, a former pediatric nurse in Texas, is a serial killer suspected of murdering up to 60 infants and children in the 1970s and 1980s. Convicted in 1984 for the murder of 15-month-old Chelsea McClellan and the attempted murder of 4-week-old Rolando Santos, she used injections of digoxin, heparin, and succinylcholine to induce medical crises in her patients, leading to numerous deaths. In 2020, she pleaded guilty to the murder of 11-month-old Joshua Sawyer. In this documentary, we'll unravel her crimes through the lens of psychology and psychoanalysis, exploring the twisted mind behind these horrific acts. Imagine a hospital nursery, a place meant for healing, where tiny infants fight for life in the soft glow of monitors. Now picture a nurse, trusted and smiling, slipping a syringe filled with poison into a child for a line. The baby's heart races, then stops. Alarms scream, chaos erupts, and Genene Jones steps forward, calm and heroic, trying to save the life she just ended. This wasn't a one-time horror. It was a ritual, a decade-long spree of death that left dozens of families shattered. We're diving into Jones' story because her crimes are a chilling psychological puzzle. Her method, poisoning helpless infants to create emergencies she could solve, points to a rare and terrifying disorder, Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Picture this: a San Antonio hospital in 1981, babies convulsing, their tiny bodies racked by seizures from drugs no one prescribed. In Kerrville, a toddler, Chelsea McClellan, stops breathing after a routine visit, her body laced with succinylcholine, a paralytic that chokes the life from her lungs. Jones didn't just kill, she played God, and we're here to figure out why. Let's start with her roots, because Genene Jones wasn't born a monster, she was shaped into one. Born in 1950 in Texas, she was given up for adoption at birth, raised by Dick and Gladys Jones, a family of 4 adopted kids. Dick, a nightclub owner with a flashy lifestyle, was a larger-than-life figure, but his failed ventures bled the family dry. When Genene was 10, he was arrested for stealing a safe, laughing it off as a prank, a moment that likely taught her how to dodge consequences with charm. Psychoanalytically, Dick was her first model of manipulation, a father figure whose charisma masked instability. Her happiest memories, she later said, were riding in his billboard truck, a fleeting sense of belonging in a chaotic home. But chaos breeds insecurity, and Genene's childhood was a breeding ground for psychological fractures. From a psychological perspective, Jones' early life screams attachment issues. Adopted children often grapple with feelings of rejection, and Genene's fixation on being needed hints an anxious attachment style, a desperate need for validation to fill an emotional void. Her mother, Gladys, was a stabilizing force, but Dick's volatility dominated the household. When he died of cancer in her teens, Genene was devastated, later claiming she always cried when babies died, a chilling foreshadowing of her crimes. This loss likely deepened her fear of abandonment, a psychoanalytic cornerstone that drove her to seek control over life and death. She married her high school sweetheart at 18, had a son, but divorced by 1974, her personal life unraveling as she chased a nursing career. Jones trained as a licensed vocational nurse in the late 1970s, drawn to pediatrics, a field where she could wield power over the most vulnerable. Psychologists would point to narcissistic personality traits here, a need for admiration, a lack of empathy, and a grandiose sense of self. She wasn't just a nurse. She saw herself as a savior, a hero in a white uniform, but her colleagues noticed something off. She was always too eager to be at the center of a crisis, said Sherry Pendergraft, a former pediatric nurse, in a documentary. At Bexar County Hospital in San Antonio, the pediatric ICU became a death trap on her 3 to 11 p.m. shift, dubbed the death shift. A CDC study found babies were 10 times more likely to die when Jones was on duty, with cardiac arrest spiking 25-fold. She injected infants with digoxin, heparin, and succinylcholine, triggering seizures, bleeding, or respiratory failure. Why babies? Psychoanalytically, infants were blank slates, helpless, voiceless, perfect for her need to control. Her choice of victims aligns with Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a disorder where someone induces illness in another to gain attention and sympathy. Unlike typical MSBP cases, where perpetrators harm their own kids. Jones targeted strangers' children, a rare twist that amplified her pathology. She wanted to be the hero, criminologist Elizabeth Yardley said in World's Most Evil Killers. She created crises to swoop in and save the day, but when she couldn't, she'd play the grieving nurse. This cycle fed her narcissistic supply, the attention and praise she craved. Freud might call this a repetition compulsion, endlessly recreating scenarios to master her childhood feelings of powerlessness. Let's paint the scene. 1981, Bexar County Hospital. A premature baby, hooked to tubes, lies in Jones' care. She slips heparin into the fore, and the infant starts bleeding internally, blood pooling under fragile skin. Alarms blare. Doctors rush in, but the baby's gone. Jones weeps, comforting the parents. Her tears a mask for a thrill. "I always cry when babies die," she later told police, a line so cold it chills the bone. In Kerrville, at a pediatric clinic, she took it further. Chelsea McClellan, a healthy 15-month-old, came for a checkup. Jones injected her with succinylcholine 3 times, prosecutors said. The toddler's lung seized, her body limp as her mother, Petty, screamed. She stopped breathing right after the shots. Petty told the evidence room. An autopsy found the paralytic in Chelsea's tissue, a smoking gun. Another child, Rolando Santos, nearly died from a heparin overdose, saved only by a doctor's quick transfer. She was aggressive, always pushing to be in charge, a colleague recalled, noting puncture marks in a succinylcholine vial only Jones accessed. Jones' motive wasn't just attention, it was power. MSBP often stems from a need to manipulate environments, to be indispensable. Jones claimed she wanted to prove the need for a pediatric ICU in Kerrville, but prosecutors argued she thrived on the chaos. "I never came across anything that explained why she committed such evil acts," said prosecutor Catherine Babbitt in 2020. Her methods were surgical, calculated, digoxin to stop hearts, heparin caused bleeding, succinylcholine to paralyze lungs. Each drug was a tool to orchestrate her drama, where she could shine or mourn. Jung might say she was consumed by her shadow self, the dark side of her psyche that reveled in destruction while her public face played the healer. The hospital's silence is its own horror. Despite suspicions, doctors noting unexplained seizures and a pattern of deaths, Bexar County Hospital didn't fire Jones. Fearing lawsuits, they let all LVNs go, gave her a glowing recommendation, and sent her to Kerrville. They knew something was wrong, but protected their reputation. Victim advocate Andy Kahan told the evidence room. This cover-up let Jones kill again, a betrayal that screams institutional failure. In Kerrville, a doctor found punctured vials, and Chelsea's death triggered a grand jury. Jones was arrested in May 1983 after trying to flee with a new husband, a 19-year-old she manipulated. She wrote fake death threats from jail, craving pity, a classic histrionic personality trait, needing to be the center of attention, even in defeat. Her trials in 1984, 1985 were a spectacle. Convicted of Chelsea's murder and Rolando's attempted murder, she denied everything, claiming, "I haven't killed a damn soul." Yet in a 1998 parole hearing, she confessed, "I really did kill those babies," per prosecutor Jason Goss. New charges in 2017, including Joshua Sawyer's murder, stopped her 2018 release under Texas overcrowding law. In 2020, she pleaded guilty to Joshua's death, sentenced to life, with parole possible in 2037, when she'll be 87. "You'll never see daylight as a free woman," Joshua's mother, Connie Weeks, told her in court. "Your life will end in captivity." Philosophically, Jones' story is a dive into existential despair. Sartre might say she chose to play God, rejecting human limits to impose her will on the helpless. Her need to control life and death reflects a nihilistic void. If nothing matters, why not wield power over the ultimate boundary? Her tears for her victims weren't remorse but performance, a refusal to face her own darkness. Locked away, she's a shadow of her former self, a woman whose quest for significance left only grief. As you sit there, heart pounding, ask yourself, what drives someone to snuff out the most innocent lives? Genene Jones wasn't just a nurse. She was a predator in a white uniform, and her story warns us how close evil can hide to trust.